Good to see you today. Hope you're doing well. We are going to be looking at the account when James and John want to call down fire on the Samaritans today. Our hymn is Approach My Soul, Thy Mercy Seat.
Approach my soul, the mercy seat, where Jesus answers prayer. There humbly fall before his feet, for none can perish there.
Thank you, Lee. Verse 2. Thy promise is my only plea. With this I venture nigh. Thou callest burdened souls to thee, and such, O Lord, am I. Bowed down beneath a load of sin, by Satan sorely pressed, by war without and fears within, I come to thee for rest. Be thou my shield and hiding place, that sheltered near thy side, I may my fierce accuser face, and tell him thou hast died. O wondrous love, to bleed and die, to bear the cross and shame, that guilty sinners such as I might plead thy gracious name. Approach my soul, the mercy seat. We are looking in Luke 9 today, verse 51. Now it came to pass, when the time had come for him to be received up, that he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face, and as they went, they entered a village of the Samaritans to prepare for him. But they did not receive him, because his face was set for the journey to Jerusalem. And when his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, just as Elijah did? But he turned and rebuked them, and said, You do not know what manner of spirit you are of. For the Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. Okay. As we think about the account, and for one thing, the Samaritans were not receiving Jesus, it says, because he was steadfastly set on Jerusalem. James and John want to call down fire. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise that the sons of thunder wanted to call down fire. And I was just thinking about how some people, and my point in saying this is that James and John, I think, changed. Obviously, James passes very early in the book of Acts. He's beheaded. I think the Apostle John, when you get up to 1 John, and what is prevalent throughout 1 John? It's love. How does a son of thunder become the disciple that speaks about love so much? I think he changed. But he had to change. And when we look at the account, and let's go ahead and look at it. And here in the account, and actually let's back up. That's what I want to do. I want you to back up and look at some of the things that have been happening. So this is where we were 2 days ago. They couldn't cast out a demon. The Lord foretells his death. They didn't understand it, what he's saying, by the way. It was hidden from them. And so then they start arguing amongst themselves about who's the greatest. Which one of them is the greatest? And then they start arguing, and notice John says, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him because he does not follow with us. So they're not just arguing amongst themselves, they're arguing with others who are doing something that they could not do literally 15 verses before this. Someone was casting out demons, and they say, no, you can't do that. Jesus says, do not forbid him, for he who is not against us is on our side. It's like, so they're fighting amongst themselves, they're fighting with others, and now they want to call down fire on the Samaritans. Some people just want to fight. And it is the spiritual version of the spiritual version of the grumpy man that says, get off my lawn, for lack of a better way of putting it. And I really should think of a better way of putting it. Some people just like to fight. They like to fight Amongst the disciples, they like to fight. Amongst outsiders, they just like to fight. And so now when the Samaritans do this, James and John are like, let's call down fire. To the hammer, everything looks like a nail, and that's all they know how to do. They just fight, argue, kill them. And it's, whoa, back up and slow down. And so the Lord says, you don't know what spirit you're of. And what he wants, in looking at the account, he wants them to remember, it's like, do you understand what our purpose is? Because our purpose, the Lord's purpose, is not to destroy men's lives, but to save them. It's like, don't lose sight of that. And sometimes when people, and we are called to fight the good fight of faith, but sometimes people, they stop fighting the good fight of faith and they just want to fight. They just want to argue. They don't take into account liberties. They don't take into account maturities. They don't take into account patience. They don't take any of those things into account, and they just say, call down the fire. And the Lord says, do you remember what we're trying to do? We're trying to save men's lives. Now, one of the reasons James and John do this is because Elijah calls down the fire. Had to call down fire. But I don't think they even, I think they had forgotten what was written. Because that account comes from 2 Kings. And in 2 Kings, after the death of Ahab, Moab rebels against Israel. That's 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 1. And so then messengers start coming from the Samaritans. Messengers start coming, as it speaks about the account, from Samaria. That's verse 3. And so you have, this is 2 Kings chapter 1 at verse 9. The king sends to Elijah a captain of 50 with his 50 men. And they come to Elijah and they say, come down. And Elijah says, if I am a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven and consume you. And they are smote on the spot. They are consumed. And then another captain with 50 men comes. And guess what? Second verse, same as the first. Smite them. And they're killed. But then a third captain, and this is what I think James and John had forgotten. A third captain of 50 with his 50 men comes to Elijah and says, man of God, please let my life and the life of these 50 servants of yours be precious in your sight. Look, fire has come down from heaven and burned up the first two captains of 50s with their 50s, but let my life now be precious in your sight. And the angel of the Lord said to Elijah, go down with him, do not be afraid of him. So he went down with him to the king. Now, which part of the account did James and John remember? They remembered the blood and gore. They didn't remember that third one. They didn't remember when the man said, please be merciful. And so we need to remember what our purpose is. And as I said, we're called to fight the good fight of faith. But we are also called to be loving. One of the passages, I'm not sure if I can find it quickly enough, but it uses language concerning bravery. Seems like it's at the end of one of the Corinthians, and I may turn over to it, and it may not be there, and that's okay. But you have, this is 1 Corinthians 16, verse 13. Watch, stand fast in the faith, be brave, be strong. And let all that you do be done with love. We cannot forget our purpose. We come to the Lord, and we go with the Lord as we think about the mercy seat. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our daily praise.